We're going to look at creating a table in a database, but before we do that, we're going to look at some definitions of various database terms. First term in a database is what is a database? It's just a collection of data, and what I've done here is I've designed a database that collects data for class events during the year. And the basic structure of a database that I have created here, as you can see I've highlighted, is the table. So all databases have an underlying table structure or a structure with many tables in them. Over this course we'll be dealing with databases that consist of one table only. So it won't be as complex as many databases that you see out there. Other examples of databases could be in a bank. You collect details of all customers, or in a college you could have a collection of all student for details for enrollment purposes. Our database table then is broken up into two elements. So each item on our database, or each person in this case, has what's called a record. So this lady here, Joan O'Shea, has a record with all her details on it. And then each record in turn is broken up into fields. So Joan O'Shea has a field that stores her ID number and her first name and second name. Now each field then has a data type. So the field ID number is of numeric data type, first name text data type. If we skip down here, text again for email address, and phone number is numeric. Date of birth has a special date data type. It's always a good idea to do your database design on paper first prior to moving to the computer. Makes life that bit easier. Okay, so the program we're going to use, we click on Start, All Programs, Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office Access 2007 is the program we have here, so we'll just click on that and open it up. The usual thing about creating a database is that when you start using the database, you save straight away. When you set up a computer file such as a spreadsheet or a Word document, normally you're used to creating the document and saving at the end. So to get us started, we'll start with a blank database here, and straight away we're going to give that database a name, and this database is going to be called class events because it stores data about class events that are going to take place during the year. Now we're going to save that into our database methods folder that we set up, so I'll just reroute us to that. So I'm now in the database methods folder. I've set up my file name as class events, and we're going to save it as Microsoft Access 2007 database. Once you've those settings applied, you just click create and the database will be created. Okay, it automatically creates a blank table for us, and the first thing we're going to do with that table is that table is ready to input data. But before we input data, we're going to apply the design to that database. So up in the left hand corner here, we're going to change from the data sheet or the data entry view to the design view, so we can set up a design. At that point, I'm going to give this table a name. I'm going to give it the prefix TBL for table, and give it the name class because it's going to store class data. I'm going to click OK. Now you can see we can set up our various elements from our design. So I'm going to go back to our sheet where I've set up the design here. And I have my ID number, first name and surname. I'll place those fields in first. So we're just setting up the various fields. So ID number, and the data type here is just a regular numeric or number type, and first name, which is text, and finally date of birth and list of evenings available. Date of birth here has a special type of date and time, and evenings available will be text. Okay, so that's the design of our database setup corresponding to the design that we put down on paper. Now we're ready to enter some data. So to enter data, you have to change our view from datasheet view, or sorry, from design view, which is presently highlighted, back to datasheet view. And it prompts you again to save the changes. We've already saved it with the initial name of TBL class, and this will just overwrite this table with the new changes by clicking yes. Now you're ready to enter our data, and I'll just input the data from here into our table. Now I've entered all the data in my database. I'm going to focus in on this first field here, the ID number, which is very important. In this case here, it does one very important purpose, and it fulfills a very important purpose on this particular database because, as you can note, there are two Joan O'Sheas, and without the ID number, we've no way of telling them apart. It's a unique identifier. Another thing to realize is that each record must have something to identify uniquely called a key field. And if, for example, if I try to enter data into this new record to give a new name, for example Mary Murphy, and try to advance to the following record, it would tell us that this key field cannot contain a null value or cannot be blank. So prior to continuing with another record, you must fill in this key field. So for this here we have 128, for example, and I'll just fill out the rest of her details. And finally, what I'm going to do is I've realized that I want to change some of the design of the database. I want to add a new field in here that contains details of payments that have been made or payments due. So to do that, I'm going to have to return to my design view by clicking here. And now I'm going to put in the new field, which is called payments due. And the data type for this is another special data type. It's currency. And when I return back to my datasheet view, we're prompted to save the changes that I've made to the table. And you can see now we can fill in any details of payments due. Note you can just input it in numeric format. For example, if there's €10 due for Joan O'Shea, it automatically converts it to the currency data type. Okay, to recap on the skills. Firstly, we designed our database on paper. We identified that a database is a collection of data, and we have a collection of data here stored in a table for our class events over the course of the year. The table then can be broken up into two elements. Firstly, records. Each item on the database, or each person in the database in this case, has their own individual record. Each record then is in turn broken up into fields. So for example, this record here, the final record on our table, the field for first name is Tim, the field for surname is Man, and then each field has a data type, be it text for surname, number for phone number, there's a data type for date of birth here. After that, we computerized our database, making sure to save our database straight away as class events in the correct folder. And the first thing we worked on was the design of our table. We introduced the fields and the data types. Then we returned to the datasheet view where we could input the data of the database.